a form in here, a free teeth whitening form. So I'm just going to grab the link to that so that we can open it up. And okay, so here's my free teeth whitening form, right? Now let's go back to triggers and just make sure, I don't think I have a trigger. So let's call this new claim. And we'll say, okay, when a form submission happens for this form, we're going to add them into our nurture campaign. Free whitening, claim nurture. Okay, so that's step number 1. Now, so let's take a look at that campaign. Here's what I wanted to do. Again, I'm keeping it pretty simple, but I think this will give you a bunch of good ideas. So in my initial campaign nurture, I've got this text set to go back that's going to say, hey, Chase, thanks for claiming our free teeth whitening. To redeem, let's get you booked for a cleaning. You can grab a day and time that works for you here, and this is going to take us to a booking calendar. Or let me know if you have any questions about our location, pricing, or insurance. So this is the little bot that I built, right? It knows location information, pricing information, and insurance information. So let's check this out. So let's say I go to our form and I fill it out. And this is, I forgot I used this form for a different demo as well. Okay, so let's make sure that that form worked. And let's make sure that I'm in free whitening claim nurture. Okay, great. So boom, there goes my message, right? Thanks for claiming a free teeth whitening, Chase. Okay, I just got it on my phone. And now I'm going to type back, yes, where are you located? Okay, so we should see that pop up. Okay, great. Now we saw it switch me to the next campaign. We're located at 5 Main Street in Doylestown, right across from the Starbucks. Here's our appointment link again for when you're ready to schedule. So boom, that was pretty cool, right? But what if I still have questions, right? Like, how much does a cleaning cost? Okay, we should see that text come back. How much does a cleaning cost? And boom, you're seeing it switch me to a different campaign over here. The cleaning costs this much, unless you have XYZ insurance. Feel free to call us if you have more questions. Here's the appointment link again for when you're ready to schedule, right? And let's just pretend that I had also asked about insurance. Do I take insurance? Okay, we can see that it flicked me over to the campaign that I have that's set up for insurance. And boom, there we go. We take XYZ insurance, but give us a call if you have other questions. So again, I only set up scenarios for those 3, but imagine all the things that you could create, right? And so being able to do that is just a matter of triggers and campaigns. So let's take a look at what I set up to make that happen. And in a second, we'll see a follow-up to this. Basically, each campaign has a secondary SMS that I put in there that just waits 1 minute, just to give you an idea for this demo. So in a couple of seconds, we should see another message pop up, and I'll pop back to that when it happens. But let's talk about what I have here. So first of all, I have a campaign for each of those scenarios, right? So I have my initial claim, and then I have one that's the initial claim, but they asked about insurance, the initial claim, but they asked about location, and the initial claim, but they asked about pricing. So you could build these campaigns for all of the, most frequently asked questions for whatever niche you're looking at. Okay, and I just got that follow-up text. So here it is. Hey, Chase, I noticed you haven't booked a cleaning and your free teeth whitening yet. We have some openings next week. Do any of these times work for you? I should have put the link to the booking calendar in there, Bob's Dentistry. But so you get an idea where it would go from there, right? A regular nurture, whatever's in your regular nurture, you just want to stack it up in each of these parallel nurtures, I would call it, right? We're sort of bouncing between parallel universes here within this nurture campaign. The secret that I heard this morning is that we're actually going to roll out the ability for this, do any of these day and times work for you, to actually put real day and times that it's pulling from the calendar. So that's going to be really cool. But we're not there yet. So, all right, we've got these alternate campaigns, right? So each one is basically just clone your regular nurture campaign, but the first message in it is going to be relative to the topic, right? Insurance. So this one, yeah, we take insurance. Hey, notice you still haven't booked. And then I would continue my normal nurture from there. The key, the magic, is in the triggers. So if we go back to triggers.
And this is active now?
What's that?
Like the triggers for this? Like this isn't a beta?
No. You could do this right now.
Yeah.
So basically I have this folders full of triggers for my nurture. And you can see that I have 2 for each. Address, actually have 3 for address. Now here's where it gets tricky, and here's where you have to do the thinking, because you have to envision like all of the ways that I might ask about one of your most frequently asked questions, right? So for insurance, I just have 2, and insurance is the normal one, but here's the tricky one. So I'm saying, look, if somebody replied, and you might want to make this more specific, like only if they're in a specific campaign, or if they have a specific tag or whatever, but I left it wide open. If anybody replies via text message and it contains insurance plus a question mark, it's going to fire. And then I also have the same thing for insurance without a question mark. And then I also have insurances, because somebody might say, like, do you take insurances, or what insurances do you take? So you need a trigger for each scenario that pushes it into that parallel corresponding campaign. Now, I did send a message on our internal call this morning of, can we train up, because this all uses, we use Google Dialogflow AI, like for the positive intent trigger, negative intent trigger. But what I asked them is, look, however this is working behind the scenes, can we train it to know that any phrase includes that ends with a punctuation is the same thing as just the phrase? And so our team's going to look into that. So you might not have to build these duplicate ones to include punctuation soon, but for right now, you need to do that to make sure that if somebody, whatever they're putting is at the end of a sentence, that the punctuation doesn't prevent it from firing.
Right. So,
yep.
I'm sorry. Before you move on, I'm curious. Now my mind's running. Right.
Yeah.
I just, maybe this is something that you could ask the development team. But do contain filters and triggers support something like regular expressions or placeholders like wildcards, like something that you would do, say insurance asterisk, and that means any one letter after insurance?
That's a good question. I don't think so, but let me pass that along right now.
Because if it did, that would be something that we could use right now, right? And you know, it's a bit techy, but it's really easy to get your mind around, to wrap your mind around.
Yeah, for sure. Pricing to fire on pricing. So cool. Yeah, let me shoot that over, and I'll report back. But I think that would be awesome if we could make that happen. Because right now, you know, the intricate ones that I've seen, and like we're gonna do some spotlight sessions soon around some people that have built like crazy flow bots. You know, it's a lot of triggers, and you're constantly monitoring the conversations that are happening to see, like, the key of it is to not have 2 phrases that could overlap, because then it's going to double fire, right? And so it works great for scenarios where you can really drill it down. And it's like, all right, well, if somebody's mentioning cost or price or pricing, that's all pretty clear, right? Like you can feel pretty confident pushing them into a bot reply that goes back about pricing or whatnot. But in my test, and this only took me like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes to put together, it works really well. And like I was, thinking through different scenarios, like what I would say, and it worked great. And I think, you saw the little demo that I did. That's pretty typical, right? If somebody just asks like, oh, where are you located? And maybe the reply goes back with a Google Maps link as well. But I did like, as I was building it, what can I go back to? I did like the feel of this, right? Like it feels natural, and it feels natural that you might say like, and by the way, here's the link when you're ready, right? Like I don't think that any of these come off as bot-ish. It feels pretty real to me. And so I
Only
love
the
this.
response time. Like if you added like a 15-second response time, maybe that'd be the only thing. But that, other than that, like it's really real. Is there a way if we send it, if there doesn't have a response, can we send out the response that we're getting to a Google Sheet?
Yeah, so you could use the decay trigger. So you can make a trigger that says like, and I think it's called decay or maybe stale something. Let me see. Stale opportunities. So you could say like, all right, if somebody is in my, how's this work? I thought you would be able to specify.
The stale doesn't work that way.
Oh, well,
There's no
it
time.
works.
There's a no time thing on the left side. Like you can't do something by a certain amount of time.
Okay, but isn't there a way to say like if somebody's in this for X amount of time, then do something?
In has
I'm pretty sure
tag.
you can make that work. Stale opportunities in pipeline, duration in days. Okay, so yeah, let's say you move them into, they asked about pricing, so they get like asked about pricing tag. Let's assume they had it, and they've had it for, I think you can do like 0.25 of a day. Oh, maybe not. I'm pretty sure that works. So you could say like, if they're in there for 10 minutes or whatever, and they haven't done anything else, then, and this is where I didn't have enough time to complete this, but what I've seen of most people building really intricate bots in high level, at some point it webhooks out to like Slack or sends a text to somebody like, hey, the automation fell down, or like somebody, like we need a real person to jump in on this. And so, exactly. So that's a great point. And in these high level how-tos or these spotlight sessions that we're going to do, we'll definitely be sure to ask about that, because there's probably a couple of different ways to get to that point where you notify somebody. But yeah, you always want to have some sort of failback so that if the automation doesn't come across as naturally, or if it fires two things, or if whatever, somebody's made aware and hops in. But I think that's a good way to do it. And you could also, I'm sure, do maybe pipeline stages, but in active campaign. Now you have me curious about what this does. So it's basically saying if they're in a campaign. So this is just saying if they're still in any campaign, right?
Yeah,
for
you
more
can't select
than
specific campaigns at this current time.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense. Let me
So
screenshot
the way that I pull it off is I'll pull an inactive campaign and in a pipeline, and then I have a pipeline depending on what sales stage they're at, and that's how it does it. It's not functionally great. It's just how I pull it off.
You probably wouldn't want to have pipeline stages for each of these bot.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, just like I said, it's not a great way to pull it off.
Yeah. But tags, I think, isn't that makes sense to me. That each time it changes to the parallel campaign, it loses its old tag and picks up the new tag. But let me pass this feedback.
Yeah, the way is the pipeline stages, if they haven't filled out a survey, they'd be anything previous to that, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Can we add the ability to specify The campaign here. Okay, cool. I just passed that along. All right, cool. Yeah, so that was as far as I took this bot. Pretty simple, but also pretty powerful, I think, especially if you're working in niches and you know all of the most frequently asked questions, right? You could easily, build out a handful. Like in this scenario, there's probably maybe one or two other questions that they might get pretty frequently, but it's usually around location, price, insurance if you're dealing with health-related stuff, right? So I think you could totally cover the bases really easily and pull off a really natural feeling bot, just like this, through triggers and campaigns. So that's as far as I took it. Like I said, we're working on some really cool stuff that I found out about this morning, like being able to shoot back live ability from a calendar via an auto reply. And I think we're also going to open up a native integration with Dialogflow. So if you want to go build crazy bots in Dialogflow, you'll be able to just connect it to a sub account and have that, and then trigger it to go in and out of that, which will be really cool. So hopefully this gets your mind spinning about what you can pull off. And like I said, we're going to talk to some people that have gone really far with this, to the point where it's like, whoa, that I think you guys will be excited about. So hopefully we'll get them on in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, go for it.
That's really cool. Is there a way to create subfolders in the folders and triggers? Because I need that ability, if that'd be cool. Because I just have
not yet, but
80
I'm
folders.
sure it's on the ideas board, and I'll pass that along right now to the product team request today.
Because I have like 80 actual folders for triggers.
Subfolders.
And yeah, so with that, can we send, like, could we take their answers and fill out custom fields?
Not yet. That only works so far with the Facebook Messenger event in campaigns. Okay. Because when someone sends a message to a page and we create the contact, all we have is the name. But if someone were to enter, like if let's say you built a bot and it went back and it said like, hey Chase, can you just confirm your email real quick before we start or whatever? And then they type in an email, HighLevel knows to take that email and put it into the contact record. So it will do that for email and a phone number via the Facebook channel. But that's the only one so far that will automatically pull something from a conversation and put it into a field.
Okay.
But that's an interesting thought. And I know the more that we've been talking about bots lately, the more that's been brought up.
Right.
So I don't even know how to, like, when I start thinking about that logically, like how would it even know what to grab? But I'm sure the product team is on it.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it would be pretty cool.
So here's a question, because
Sure.
Off the top of my mind, I have two, but this one's related to this thing we're talking about. Is it possible? I believe it is, but is it possible to use a webhook to send it somewhere else, like the customer's response, process it over there, and then feed it back to HighLevel?
You could.
And that's like Matt DeSeno, we're going to talk to soon about. He's been building crazy bots in Dialogflow and then webhooking between HighLevel back and forth. So basically something triggers to go to Dialogflow, some crazy automated conversation happens, and then at some point it triggers it back into HighLevel.
Right.
So I'm super excited to talk to him, and I know that's how he's doing it.
Okay. The other thing that I wanted to ask is, this is using SMS, right? But what we've seen is that engagement is a lot better on Messenger and on instant direct messages. I know that you guys support Messenger, but Messenger has like a 24-hour window that you can send the message back. Have you guys had, or somebody from the community has had any experience building something like this on Messenger, not on SMS? and how
Yeah.
well does it scale, or
Yeah. I was actually just looking at a video from David, who has joined our team recently. Wait, is this David's video? No, that's a video from Sean, who has a really extensive bot like I built, but way more intricate, that goes through the Facebook Messenger channel. And it basically functions as a survey filter.
Mhm.
So basically it's got like, a bunch of questions that it walks you through. And then at some point it notifies him to go manually finish off the conversation or whatever. But yeah, and what I didn't know is that High Level will actually tell you if you're outside of that window. Like in the conversation flow, it'll show you an error saying you're outside of the window. So like this message didn't deliver, which is cool. I didn't know that was, what's that?
It'll do that after you send the message, or will it tell my users, hey, this message, don't even send it because, you're outside the window?
No. So like, let's say you have a campaign and you built a bot and you want it to work in that channel and they don't reply for 2 days. Well, the next thing that you have in the campaign that's supposed to go, it'll show an error in the conversation stream saying it was outside of the window.
Right.
And so I think next you'll see us roll out a trigger so that if that does happen, you can, webhook to Slack or shoot a text to somebody saying, hey, that person stopped responding. We're outside of the window on that, shoot them an email if you have it or whatever.
Is there a way to also get like Instagram DMs or LinkedIn at some point integrated in? Because that'd be dope.
Yeah, a lot of people ask about LinkedIn, but from what I know about LinkedIn's API is it's pretty locked down. Like they don't want people siphoning information off of there, and that's why all the LinkedIn tools are scrapers. The Instagram side, I think, is definitely doable. I think we've just been
busy.
We've been busy, and the social media stuff like that has been pushed to the back burner because we really want to focus on the world of, look, High Level is the #1 tool in the world to convert leads to booking sales, like whatever that is. That process is what we want to own. Social media posting has been something that we just keep putting on the back burner. But
I'm not even talking about posting. I'm talking about like conversations in DMs. Like
no, that's what I was going to say. I think you're right in that the Instagram DM has become a legitimate business channel, conversation channel. And so I think like
closed,
if we're not, we should be looking at it.
Like I've closed like $10,000 retainers off of a DM. So
yeah,
it's beneficial.
Yeah.
So let me ping the product team. Integrate Instagram DM as a conversation channel.
Yeah, I gotta say, over half of the engagement that I've seen the last couple months has been on Instagram. Over 50%.
Really?
Closed a lot of business on Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it makes a ton of sense, and so I threw it out there into the product team group, and so I'll see what they say on Monday. But I'll try to push that. I mean, I agree. I think it would be awesome. Makes a lot of sense, and I don't know what the API looks like or the rules, or if they have rules around that, but I don't think so. I think it's pretty much wide open.
Well, they used to have an API that was fairly open, but what they did is if you have API access to that one, they're going to keep it around for